Hello, my friends. Thank you for tuning in to the Art of Being Human by with me as your host, sponsored by Think Virtues. Today's guest is one of my favorite people, Paul Zak, one of my favorite humans on this planet, one of my favorite neuroscientists and researcher with a heart of gold, mind of brilliance, and lots to share with us. So I'm going to give the mic to him and have him tell us a little bit more about himself. I know a lot of people know him because of his brilliance and the amount of exposure he's had because of that. But I'll like to give the mic to you, Paul, and get us started on your fabulous journey in life so far.
Kathy, you are too nice. What a privilege to spend time with a wonderful person like you. So thank you. I can't even follow up on that. So I'll just give you my stats. So I'm a professor at Claremont Graduate University in Southern California. I run a very active behavioral neuroscience lab, and 7 years ago started the first software as a service company called Immersion Neuroscience that lets anybody measure what the brain loves in real time by applying algorithms to signals we pull from smartwatches and fitness wearables.
What a
So my work's basically creating knowledge and technology so people can live longer, happier, and healthier lives. That's the short summary.
wow. What else could we ask for?
Yeah, but what else should I spend my time on, right? That's the most important thing, right? Being
It's
happy, being healthy, and part of that's being productive, right? So I think when I speak to this isn't the new year, so this is evergreen content, but we're a couple of weeks out of the new year. People in Europe are still not replying to email. I'm still getting autoresponders like, "Hey, I'm not coming back to the office till January 30th." I'm like, "Wow, you're taking a month off?" I mean, I guess that's maybe good, but what the data show is that we, all of us humans, get so much value out of work because work is about service, right? Helping my team be successful. I'm helping my customers solve problems. So when we think about work as service to others, you really see this innate goodness in providing that service. And so we get a lot of satisfaction from being in an organization that provides that real service to other people. So yeah, 4 weeks of vacation too much in my view. If you love what you do, it's not. I don't want it to. I work 7 days a week, Kathy. You know me. We've known each other for a while. Not because I have to, because I love to. I love helping people and solving problems. What's better than that? And I get paid to do it. Hey, even better.
I'm with you, and I'm the same way. I mean, I'm constantly doing working, and but I love it. And your work is so profound because it really taps into human nature, what moves human behavior, and what inspires us. And so, let's get into, from early on. I remember first watching your very first TED Talk about empathy and the molecule of, was that your first one?
That's my second one.
That was
And
second.
first, yeah, big TED. I had a TEDx before that, but yeah, my
Yeah.
first TED talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I think I know where you're going, which is a lot of these issues which are so relevant to understand human beings and therefore lead an organization, like empathy, like vulnerability, like trust, seems super squishy.
Hmm.
I'm not a psychologist. I have never taken a course in psychology, and I find a lot of this literature on people's self-reported feelings as being very fragile. Almost all of that work doesn't replicate well. So instead, we ran experiments to identify the underlying brain mechanisms that produce empathy, cooperative behaviors like being trustworthy. And why would we do that? Because I dislike psychologists? No, no, because I want to really know about mechanism. If I know mechanisms, I know how to promote it or inhibit it. And
Hmm.
that's the work we started doing in the early 2000s. So in particular, I was the first neuroscientist to show that this neurochemical oxytocin is a key signal in the human brain that I want to engage with another person. So it facilitates being trustworthy.
Hmm.
It does that by increasing our sense of empathy. So
Hmm.
I'm a better leader, I'm a better team member, I'm a better human if I understand not only what you're doing, that's a cognitive process, but why you're doing it. Why is this important to you? So from a leadership perspective, I always think about telling leaders to open up that emotional channel, right? If I want to be an effective leader,
Mhm.
I've got to really understand the why part of humans, right? Whether you're doing something effectively or ineffectively, if I'm going to try to direct you or lead you or guide you, I've got to have a sense on why you are doing what you're doing.
Mhm.
Here's where the difficulty comes in. Oftentimes we don't know it, right? We're doing this because it's what we've always done. We call those habits, or because it seemed like the right idea. So I think like leadership lesson number one is people are weird, and they're weird for reasons they don't understand. And they're going to be inconsistent, and they're not going to know exactly what their motivations are, or they'll confabulate some rationale.
Mhm.
So really think about observing that behavior and thinking about the underlying goals that that person wants to accomplish. And don't expect consistency in people around you, whether that's your spouse or your kids or your employees.
Mhm.
Inconsistency means the brain is adapting to that environment. And then adaptation happens internally. Maybe
Mhm.
I didn't sleep well last night, or my dog died, or my kid had the flu. And that reduces my ability to emotionally regulate. It reduces my cognitive abilities. So I'm going to be inconsistent. And I show up for work. I think I'm fine, right? I slept 3 hours, but I can work. But I'm just not going to perform as well. And I may not know it as an employee, but my colleagues probably will see it. So that's okay. That's what humans do. We have good days and bad days. But the second is I may have these underlying external factors that I don't know about consciously that influence my work. Um, it's cloudy weather. People
Mhm.
are actually more depressed when it's cloudy. I mean, it's so obvious to say that, but so a sunny day, maybe I'm looking out the window. I got a nice sunny day here in San Diego. So I'm looking out the window and I'm a little distracted from the work I'm doing and I'm not as good a colleague. And that's where I think challenges come in.
Mhm.
So it's really important to get your brain, which is doing so many things to keep people upright, breathing, and conscious, focused on task. And that happens most effectively when I have this hard but achievable goal. And so if from a leadership perspective, I'm coaching you towards that goal. I'm helping you be successful. I'm doing lots of check-ins. That goal should be hard.
Mhm.
An employee gets when he or she reaches that goal, gets the benefit of, oh wow, holy crap, we worked on this project for 3 months and we nailed it. The client's happy. We did it on budget, did it on time. You get that satisfaction. And that's can sort of part of that long-term sustainability approach, which is really managing that energy of the human beings around you. And what happens after you meet that big goal? Recovery, right? So the brain's just like a muscle. It gets fatigued. You know all this, Kathy, but it gets fatigued and you need some recovery period. So if you had a big 3 month project and you were grinding on that, the last thing you want to do from a leadership perspective is give people another giant project Monday morning if they just finished on Friday.
Mhm.
A week to recover, to get caught up on email, to go home on time. And by the way, celebrate that victory, right? Go publicly. Hey, Kathy's team nailed it. This client's so happy. Amazing product. We should clap for you. We should give you some gifts. We should recognize you, have you give a chance to tell us how you did this amazing thing. Share that information so everyone learns from your successes. Really important to recognize human beings. Even for introverts like me, we still like to be recognized. We just won't say as much when you ask us to give a speech.
But you're smiling inside.
Oh, yeah, we all need to be recognized. We are so neuroanatomically, we are deeply social creatures in that we are so sensitive to social information, primarily via oxytocin and some related neurochemicals. We have many more receptors for these chemicals than any other mammals. So we are just absorbing that social emotional information all the time. Much of it is unconscious. But I don't know, I pass you, let's say we work together, Kathy. I pass you in the hall and I kind of roll my eyes or, like maybe I don't even know I'm doing that, but you're picking up on that. Like, what the hell? This guy doesn't like me. And now we got to be in a team together and you got to work with me, right? So you're going to have natural frictions with humans, but also have a chance to experience much more joy, right? If I'm doing something by myself,
Mhm.
I travel a lot by myself because I travel for work a lot. And it's great. It's fine. I love being in new places. But you go with someone you like, a friend or a spouse, whatever. Oh, it's much more fun. You get, oh my God, look at this weird tower. Oh, let's go in there, right? So where you may have that conversation in your head by yourself, but the social part of work is really an essential part of making work satisfying and enjoyable. And that leads us right into remote or hybrid work. But let's hold that for now because I've been on a rant for like 14 minutes. So thank you for letting me speak.
Oh, wow. This is amazing. And I love how you sew science to practical experience that every professional leader, CEO, business owner needs to know. And it's your work is profound, and the way that you bring it to people is just really beautiful. I want to acknowledge you for that. Let's celebrate that, Paul.
All right. Look how I'm smiling now. Thank you, Kathy.
Yes, yes. Yes, so a lot of leaders today are concerned about building trust. How do they do that? Would you explain that scientifically and practically the way you beautifully the way you always do?
Thank you. Right. So again, if we know the neurologic mechanisms, then we can identify policies managers can use to increase trust levels. So, as I said earlier, when you have humans together, we'll have frictions. We'll also have enjoyable interactions.
Mhm.
And so think of trust as a lubricant that reduces those frictions. I trust you. I don't need to check on you every 2 minutes because you're going to do your job. You're reliable. You get why I care about this. You have that empathy component. Like, hey, this is really important, Kathy. We got to get this thing done by Friday.
Mhm.
I really need your help, right? So, yes, I wrote a book in 2017 called Trust Factor that identified, based on my research, these 8 foundational um, components that, again, are measurable and influenceable, if that's a word, by leaders to create a culture of high trust. I don't want to go through all of them, but basically, they are creating the opportunities for individuals to have positive interactions that induces a release of oxytocin and avoids those factors that inhibit that release. So let's
Mm.
talk about inhibition for a minute.
Mhm.
One of the two major inhibitors of oxytocin release are cortisol and testosterone.
Mm.
What does this mean? So cortisol is this long-term stress chemical. So I said challenge stress, great for performance, great for job satisfaction, but chronic stress, not good, right? So this sort of inverted U curve we see everywhere in biology. I want to put you as a leader into this challenging situation so you have the opportunity to grow and put all your cognitive and emotional resources into this goal. But if that blends over into chronic stress where you're not getting enough sleep or you're not getting restful sleep, you can't stop thinking about this project, right? You're not functioning as a human being, that inhibits performance. So again, that's why I want to modulate what these goals are. The
Mm.
second I mentioned is testosterone. So one of the things we found in the last 10 years, really, where we're seeing much more flattened or horizontal management structures, less hierarchy, is that what we call dominance displays have started to disappear. Remember the power tie, the $5,000 suit, the women with the big shoulder pads, and maybe you look big like a linebacker. Not going away. I'm wearing a t-shirt. You're dressed beautifully, but like we're just a person. So if you're a leader and you're trying to display your power, it says, I'm a little god. I'm different than you peons below me. I'm
Mm.
excited about working for this person, as opposed to I'm wearing a t-shirt or a short sleeve look, and I'm in there moving boxes or doing whatever needs to be done, right? I really want to work for someone who is going to roll their sleeves up. So a great example of that, one of the great business leaders is a guy named Jim Senegal who started Costco.
Mm.
So Jim retired recently, always wore that short sleeve white shirt that all the people at Costco wear. He had a name tag that said Jim, and he'd be in the stores every week, moving boxes, helping customers. He knew his business. And by
Mm.
the way, never took more than $100,000 a year in salary. His
Wow.
board complained, like, Jim, you're a CEO, you're totally underpaid. He goes, no, I got stock. I'm not worried about it. I'd rather grow the company and save that money. So what a guy to work for. People loved him. What's the payoff to the company? They're just saving money on Jim's salary, or you look at employee turnover at Costco versus his closest competitor, Sam's Club, which is the Walmart version, and turnover is like 3 times higher at Sam's Club. They don't pay quite as well. They don't spend as much time training, and also they don't have this amazing leader. And there's nothing wrong with Walmart. I actually love Walmart. I love going there. It's a lot of good things about Walmart. but they haven't built this culture that Jim Senegal built where we're all in this together. We're all just trying to do our jobs. We like our jobs. We want to keep our jobs. We want to do well. We want to satisfy our customers. And sometimes it's hard. And sometimes, that's why you get paid. Sometimes it's hard and you're going to do hard things.
Yeah, that's a
So,
great
sorry, to
example.
summarize, if you want trust in your organization, be trustworthy yourself
Yeah.
and own mistakes. I think it's so weird when we see leaders that try to weasel out of mistakes they've made. So even being vulnerable as a leader is a really important way to build trust.
Hmm.
So there's something called the Pygmalion effect. You may have heard of this,
Hmm.
where if I have expectations, high expectations for you, people tend to reach them.
Hmm.
Right? So I want to have high expectations for other people, for myself. But when I fail, I also want to say, man, that was a bad mistake. Like I talked to my group, we all thought it was a good idea. I'm the leader. Ultimately, I made the mistake. So the classic example of this is President Kennedy in the Bay of Pigs. So people who are younger, this was basically an invasion of Cuba that was set up by the CIA prior to Kennedy being president. Kennedy comes in as the young president and says, hey, we have this great thing to get rid of Castro in Cuba. And Kennedy's like, you guys all worked it out. I guess let's do it. Abject failure. People died. A lot of people died. And then Kennedy went on TV and said, I approve this. It was a huge mistake, obviously. We never should have done it. And I'm a new president and I'm trying to get better. And I'd like your support as I learn how to be a better president for all of the American people. And this one was on me. This is a bad decision. And his approval ratings went up because he owned it.
Yes, yes,
I
it's
weasel
so
out of it.
powerful. I think that it's really leadership maturity. I found with working with leaders who are able to admit their mistakes and those who can't is confidence and just not seasoned enough, don't have enough leadership training. Less than 5% of leaders actually get training. That's
Yeah, it's like the what do you call that? The oh shoot, there's a name for it. Where you advance just because you're the senior person, the Peter principle, right?
Yes.
You keep getting promoted without training. And I think the thing that you and I care the most about is creating extraordinarily efficient, sustainable, profitable workplaces. And that means the humans have to be doing that work. They have to create value. So how do you guide people if you've never had training in leadership? It's shocking. I didn't know that number, but totally shocked.
And hopefully it's getting better, but that's the reason that we see this lack of responsibility and accountability is because they just feel like, they're not secure enough in their position to be able to admit, hey, you know what? I'm a human being. I have the capacity to make mistakes. I did make a mistake. So that was a great example. Thank you for that. Um, the what about empathy and sales? I think that every no matter what we do, we are selling something. No matter what or organizations are doing, they're selling something. But through empathy, I think that sales can have high integrity because when you empathize with people that you are connecting to and wanting to serve and wanting to sell your products, programs, services to, then you not only do a better job because you're really coming from a place of service, but also you're making your client feel better. And I think that the whole sales process not only goes more smoothly, but also better conversion. Is that true?
It's definitely true. I'm rethinking. I have been rethinking my whole idea on sales.
Okay.
Um,
Tell
I
us.
don't think I believe in sales.
Okay.
I think I believe in solving problems.
Okay.
And if I want to solve your problem as a potential customer, as a prospect, I
Mhm.
need to understand what the problem is and why it's important to you. And the second one, again, is that empathy component. If I understand why this is so compelling that you're spending your time talking to me, who has some product or service that may or may not help you resolve that problem. So I want to think about partnerships and not sales. I want to be a partner with these people. I try to use that word when I'm talking to prospects for my company. I don't want a customer, I want a partner.
Hmm.
And many times, um, when I've talked to prospects about organizational transformation or wellness or the stuff that we've created software around, they're not a good fit for what we're offering. And I'll tell them that. I'm like, actually, I don't really think you need what we have, but I know a company that does exactly what you need, or what you need really need is a consultant to come in and do a deep dive on your company. I'm a software guy, so that's not what we do. But why don't you talk to whatever, Accenture, EY, somebody, have them do a deep dive, or Kathy for that matter, figure out, what's going on, and then we can help you measure where the problems are. And so I think if we think about this as long-term partnerships, so can I make a confession to you, Kathy?
Yes.
I have a very strange religion that I have adopted called CLV, customer lifetime value. That's my religion.
Mhm.
So when I think about solving problems, I think about customer lifetime value. And I
Mm,
want to be a great partner for you, just like I want to have great value in my personal relationships and my friendships.
mm,
If I'm not investing in my friends,
mhm,
um, then they're not going to invest in me. I got a text yesterday from a guy I've been talking to, it's a friend, haven't talked to in, I don't know, 9 months.
mm,
And I'm going to suppress one word, but he goes, dude, I effing love you. Oh
mm,
my God, what's better than that? Like,
mm.
he's a dude. He's
Yeah,
awesome. Right. So that's the best. I want to do the same thing for prospects. I want to say, dude, I effing love you. I
yeah.
care about you. Let's think about how I might solve your problem. I've got to know about the problem and about you, the person. And so I do think about, from a sales perspective, making this prospect have this heroic opportunity. He or she gets to go back to the office and go, holy crap, this thing that's been bugging us for the last 6 months? I found a vendor. We're going to solve this problem. 2 weeks from now, that problem is gone.
Yeah.
That person's a hero, and I want to make him or her feel like, okay, they did the right thing by using our product or service. Is that crazy? Please
You
critique
know
me.
what? You just demonstrated one of one of the many reasons why I love you so much is that the way that you so beautifully articulated, reframed this whole notion of selling, and I love that, solving problems, partnering with people, establishing fit. I love that, and I think that empathy is our way into that, isn't it? I mean, really, it's an empathy framework that I use in everything, literally everything that I do, from
Yeah.
designing a classroom, from designing a curriculum, to having a conversation with a client, because it is all about them. And of course, I have to always hold back because I'm so passionate about wanting to serve, so I always have to kind of reserve myself, my excitement about wanting to help somebody, but you have to really establish fit and make sure it's the right timing and it's something that they need or want, etc. So
Do
love
you
it.
find that you get pulled into conversations that do not generate revenue for you but are still of service? And how do you modulate that? Because you're such a nice person, and I can imagine people might take advantage of you.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, most of the people who are attracted to our work also care about being good and doing good by their people, their company, their clients, etc. So I'm very fortunate that way. Really fortunate that way that I attract just amazing people, which is good.
So
Right?
one thing I've done is, so I would get sucked into a lot of conversations that didn't generate revenue. And I'm okay to have some of those because that's nice and humans. But I have this new program called Ozekid. I made that word up. It's OZOQED.
Okay.
So one Zoom, one quote every day. So if you are going to do a prospect call with me or someone in my company, then you're going to get a quote. We're going to follow up with a quote. So you
Mhm.
know that this is a hopefully wonderful conversation. We explored a lot of the problem you're having. I hopefully understood empathically why this is important to you, but I still want to make sure that we are running a business and you understand that. So I'm trying to balance the functionality of, say, being in sales with the empathy of wanting to solve people's problems. So Ozekid is the way I try to act on my new religion, CLV.
I love that. I love that. And I think that that's something I should adopt as well.
It's hard, right? Because we do love solving problems, but I want to make sure that they're those problems that I have 15 people that work with me, right? So they have to get paid. And if I'm just talking to people who are interesting and having fun, then the business will go under.
It's so true, and it's our space too, because this is what we do is comes in as a nice to have for some reason, and it's such a it to me it's such an it's imminent for people to adopt some sort of a way to nurture their people, train their people, bring coherence, bring alignment into the team, into the organization. And there's ways of doing that. You can either do it intentionally or it'll happen inertially and you won't like the latter. So,
Right.
so there's many ways and tools and methods to do this and accomplish this. And doing it intentionally is always less costly for the organization and more profitable too. And
Yeah, I want to agree with you and make an argument that it's not a nice to have, it's a need to have.
yeah,
Talked about this before, but if you look at the unemployment numbers, record 60-year low in unemployment in the US and many other countries. Fertility rates have been below replacement in the US since the early 2000s. Europe, it's been below Japan, China, they're all shrinking. So if
yes.
you have employees and you have employees that perform well, they're a rare commodity. You should nurture them, cherish them. You should make a great workplace. And if that workplace culture is toxic, they are going to leave for somewhere else like that. And so by really thinking about creating this culture that is valuable, that's challenging. Again, it's not about happiness. I think some confusion on that. I don't want you to be happy at work. I want you to be challenged. I'm
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
right? I'm putting energy in now. I'm not necessarily happy talking to you. I'm enjoying it, but I'm not happy. I
Mm,
don't, Taco Tuesday is a stupid idea in my view. What I
mm,
want to do is when you finish that work day, you feel like satisfied, like a physical workout, right?
I love
Right. I went
that.
to the gym this morning. I was tired, but I felt good about it. Like, oh, I got a hard workout in. I feel great. Right. So that's what you want to have, that satisfaction that really sustains an organization, because it's the humans that are creating value. Until our robot overlords take over and we're all, I don't know, heads in jars,
Mhm.
it's really humans that we have to nurture and help them create the organizational structure so they can be successful and the organization survives.
I love that. I love that because there is a myth out there about happiness, and that's what keeps engagement. But engagement is really nurtured by creating a challenging, fulfilling work environment where people like what they do, like their coworkers, and you don't have to like every single person and want to spend many hours with them, but you have to have that respect, that camaraderie, and that all can be nurtured and created.
Yeah, I think it's building those connections. So as I said earlier, we are built for connections. So I think another takeaway is that we want to be in groups. Like, I don't know, we met a couple years ago. I just think you're amazing, Kathy. So I'm a huge fan of yours. I have so many people that I've met, and right away you're like, oh, you're awesome. Let's hang out. Let's do stuff together. So that's what humans do. So at work, it's not unnatural,
Mhm.
contra what the Marxists have promulgated, which is counter to human nature. We want to be in groups. Give us a goal.
Yeah.
There's a reason for us to be together. If we have a goal, here's our objective. Here's
Mhm.
some people you're going to meet. We're going to work together. Awesome. And to the extent that I get to know those people a little more, say outside of work, I reduce the frictions. I get to know more about what you care about. So I'm a big believer in not fighting fair. So if you're going to try to, I don't know, kidnap my child, I'm going to do everything I can. I'm not going to fight fair. I'm going to do everything I can to stop you from kidnapping my child. So at work, do the same thing. If it requires I don't know, pizza and beer on Friday at 5 o'clock, free lunches, whatever. Get people in the office, right?
Mhm.
Get them to know each other, or outside the office, right? Fund a happy hour that someone hosts. By the
Mhm.
way, I do this in my lab. Our company is distributed, so we're all far away. But in my lab, where I see the kids all the time, out of my own budget or my own personal money, I buy beer and put it in the refrigerator. And sometimes we'll have happy hour sometimes, and then I'll stay for an hour, and then the kids can stay, they're graduate students, they're PhD students. They can stay as long as they want. We have a patio, have as much beer as you want, because eventually they'll talk about girls or boys and movies, and then they'll start talking about work because we get so much satisfaction from work. And these are graduate students, they're trying to get good at this job. Like, oh, you're working on that machine learning thing. Oh, what software are you using? Oh, yeah, I should, can you show me how to use that? And right, we really build these ties based around work, and it's totally okay. It's fine.
Absolutely. I remember the first time I interviewed you, you told me about this years ago, and I've passed this on to some of the CEOs I work with, and they've implemented it successfully. They fly, and even when during COVID, they fly people in, and they just love it because of the amount of connection, the amount of ideas that gets passed on in that time together. When you connect people together, literally magic and miracles unfold. It's wonderful. I think that it's a great thing for everybody to kind of know and remember. Let's talk about mental health a little bit. How can we, because that's a concern. We've seen such a decline in mental health, and it's a concern for a lot of the CEOs I work with because they want to really nurture their employees in a way that supports a positive mindset, good mental health. So what can they do to nurture that?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So, particularly among younger people, people under 30, we're just seeing exploding levels of depression and anxiety disorders. Suicide has been going up for the last decade, which is just awful and shocking. So, if we want to run a sustainable organization, we do have to think about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
If I use that term, it becomes very scary.
Mm-hmm.
I like, I'm going to go talk to a counselor or a psychologist, and like, how do you know? So, as you know, Kathy, we created this tool called Six. There's a QR code up on the screen, which is an app that measures neurologically how much value your brain is getting from the social emotional experiences you're having.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives individuals privately a tool to improve what I call their emotional fitness, right? Are you actually doing those things in life that give you enough value so that you're building up this resilience? You have this buffer so that when things do go wrong, you've got that nice buffer around you. So the app is called Six because we've shown you needed these six well-defined high-value moments that the app will find for you. It'll link to your calendar and show you which things you really love doing the most so you can do more of that.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that empowers employees, right? I can have this discussion with my supervisor. Hey, Bob, I've been using this app for the last 3 months, and I found out that I love doing accounting, and I'm not so much loving working with my team. Like, give me more accounting, or I love working with clients, and I don't really love accounting, or whatever that is. So I can learn about myself.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the interesting things, consistent with what I said earlier, is that people actually get more high value moments at work than at leisure. That seems weird. Why would that be the case? Well, at work, again, I have those challenge goals. And I have other people that are generally working with me to meet those goals. So social activities increase the neurologic value of experiences. So it's important that we get some of these high value experiences at work, but also outside of work. So, for example, we have a number of police departments using the Six app, and for cops, I always say, look, you're going to have some high value moments. Like someone starts shooting at you, a car, your brain's on. So high value doesn't necessarily mean happy. It just means you are building up this ability to expend the metabolic resources to be fully performing at your best.
Mm-hmm.
Someone shooting at you, you going to perform. You're trained, you know what to do, right? If you're a cop, hopefully, you know what to do, and you're going to be on. You're going to get a high value moment. But you also have to make sure that you have some of those high value moments outside of work. So for any of us, if our work is so exhausting that we don't have energy left over to have those high value moments with our spouses, with our kids, with our friends, then we become diminished human beings, right? We're actually not going to thrive long term. So I really think of Six as a measure of thriving neurologically. It's running continuously in the background, pulling data from the cranial nerves. So based on, just 20 years of research, because I work slow. And it's free. By the way, I should say it's free.
Yeah.
I sadly don't care about money. I just want, I'm trying to get 1 billion people to use this app in the next 3 years, because if we have this language, emotional fitness, it's less scary than mental health.
Mm-hmm.
It's offered by companies as an employee benefit. So employees can then begin to manage their own emotional fitness and are empowered when they need help to privately get that help. So if you're having only 3 or fewer high value moments per day, you have depressive symptoms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Low energy, low mood. And you've been in businesses like me, Kathy, where you walk in, you see people, their shoulders are dropped, they're shuffling their feet like, oh, these people are not turned on about whatever's happening here. Like something's happening. So as a good leader, I could check in with you and go, hey, Kathy, seem like you've been out of it for a couple of weeks. Are you all right? Is family okay? Are you feeling all right? What can I do to help you? That'd be great. But also privately, my phone can say, hey, here's a library of resources that our company offers that can help you get back to wellness, right? Before you have a crisis. This is highly predictive of people before they have an anxiety disorder or depression. Hey, we'll pay you to talk to a therapist on the clock. You can, for COPS, Suicide Prevention Hotline, the most important thing is it lets you link to friends.
Mm,
Social creature, so I can share my data or some of my data with colleagues or friends, and they'll just see sort of red or green. Like,
mm,
hey, my friend Paul's been in the red zone for 3 days. Maybe I should call him. I'm use a phone for talking. Like this is a
yeah.
crazy idea, I know, for the kids. Or check in. Again, that data is private, but if I can share that with my closest friends, or hey, Kathy's been in the green zone for all 5 days a week. Send you a text. Kathy, you're awesome. You had a great week. Thanks for sharing your data with me. You're killing it. Good for you. So just having that conversation. Again, think of the cops. So I spent a lot of time doing leadership training with cops. I got sucked into this years ago, and it's kind of fun and interesting. And they really need help on leadership training, as you said. They lack it. Um, so cops beyond 6 months on the job will not share their day with their spouses. They are
Mm,
seeing awful. They're seeing people on the worst day of their lives, right?
mm.
They're seeing dead babies and they're seeing horrific car accidents and stuff you just don't want to share. It's you don't want to burden your spouse with that. But if your spouse could see, oh, my loved one, she's been in the red zone at work for 5 days in a row. Maybe I just want to take my spouse out to dinner or to a movie. You don't have to debrief on why you had such a bad week, but I'll know at least you had a bad week. And I didn't have to say anything to you. Hey,
Mm.
honey, I think, thanks for sharing your data with me. You had a bad week, or I've been watching you. Seem like you're kind of down. Let's just go out to dinner and I don't know, do something fun. Listen to some music. Think how much better your relationship would be if you had that ability.
What do you think about this for families? Because a lot of kids are committing suicide. Ages 10 to 24. It's one of the leading causes of death. And with our program, as you know, we started our Think Virtues began as a children education and parenting tool. And so I have a lot of parents who have been my clients. And now, as soon as people find out about our parenting courses, etc., they express concern. Just about everyone I talk to, sadly, knows someone who has lost one of their children to suicide. And so how do you think that your technology 6 would help families? Would you encourage family members to use it?
I would. So you're exactly right in the data. So for age 15 and above, suicide is in the top 5 causes of death for every age group. I mean,
Wow.
this is an epidemic. It's really a problem.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's most valuable for families, particularly with teenagers. So when my kids are teenagers, you kind of got that one word response. How's your day? Fine.
Yep.
What'd you do? Nothing. But again, if I could just see red or green, like, hey, honey, uh, looks like you had a great week or you had a bad week or, like we're sharing our data. So my kids got cell phones, my kids are in their 20s now, but when they got cell phones, we said, we're going to track your phones and you can track our phones. We're going to know where everyone is in our family so you can find each other if it's an emergency or whatever. If I'm late, you'll know where I am. Why don't we track our emotional fitness? Why
Mhm.
not just open up that conversation and say, hey, mom had a bad week. What should we do for mom, kids?
Mhm.
Gosh, think how nice that would be. Where otherwise I come home, maybe I'm tired, I've had a bad day, and I have to sort of somehow read if my wife is unhappy and my little teeny boy brain can't do it. But if I just got a notice on my phone saying, hey, your wife's been in the red zone for 3 days in a row, you got to do something, you got to check in with her. It would make it so much easier, or your kid. And then again, I think that's why I use the word emotional fitness or the term emotional fitness. So it's much less scary than you're depressed or you have bad mental health or whatever. Like, hey, your emotional fitness is starting to decline. So let's do some exercises. And actually, we've trained an AI assistant that will give you things to do to build up your emotional fitness based on your calendar. So we have your calendar and we have how much you value each experience. And so it's just personalized. It will become personalized for you. When you first start, it's general.
Mhm.
Phone a friend, take a walk. But yeah, then it's going to learn about you as an individual, and it's private to you. No one else is going to see it.
I love this, and I love that that your goal is to reach 1 billion users in the next 3 years. I want to help you achieve that goal. And I think that one of the ways that we could do this is for families, because a lot of people have smartphones and a lot of people share their location, and sharing their mental health or mental fitness level is a great, and I refer to it as mental fitness in all of our work as well, because I think that there's a stigma. Like, you're dead on with that, with the stigma on mental health. People think, oh, there's something wrong with me. Am I going to have to go to a psychiatrist? Whereas, we have to think about our mind is very powerful, and the state of the mind is incredibly powerful, and the more positive the better. And so, and one of the things I notice in working with people is that people are not in tune to their own emotions, and they don't necessarily want to share their emotions, or they don't want to talk about it. To your point, they don't want to revisit it, just like you talked about with police officers. Maybe the experience at the office was just so it's such a not good experience that they don't want to talk about it. But
Right.
having that data and having that information, then you don't need to talk about it. All you need to do is just really be that nurturing partner, nurturing parent, a family member, friend, coworker, and take care of the person you care about. I love that.
I think you said that so nicely. Care for the person you care about. So we are working with nonprofits, both in the mental health space and the education space. So as you know, Kathy, huge burnout among teachers and quits. And so we're
Mm,
also beginning to run out of teachers. So by giving teachers a tool to help them manage their emotional fitness, we also hopefully will begin to expose families to it.
mm,
So we don't have the marketing budget to, do a Super Bowl ad on TV or something. And so we're trying to really work with nonprofits, to help them. And there, again, there's a premium version and people can get more features if they want to pay for it. But even that's only $12 a month. So
mm.
it's not a bank breaker.
No, 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 no. Well, I think that I'm going to help you with that, because in every one of the places I speak, I could talk about this, because
Oh, God
it's
bless you.
a beautiful thing to be able to add to your list of things of self-care, really.
Yeah.
Self-care, family care, friend care. And it's so nice that you were just such a thoughtful researcher that you came up with this.
Well, you also said something really beautiful I wanted to follow up on earlier about how important it is to um, understand people's emotional states. And so, and for listeners, 99% of what the brain does is not open to conscious awareness, and emotions are processed in the evolutionarily old unconscious parts of the brain. So even if you ask your spouse or your colleague how they're feeling, how their day's going, they may not be able to articulate that very carefully. But when you have neurologic data, so I'm back to my original component of why neuroscience and not psychology, when I have that continuous objective neurologic data that takes basically multiple data streams in the brain and turns it into a single number, it's easy to understand that. It's continuous, it's personal to you. And the reason the app's called Six is because that's your goal is six of these high value moments a day. And when you get them, they're amazing and sometimes very surprising.
Mm.
So, people will say, I thought I had a good day, but only got two high value moments. Well, look at your calendar. What were you doing? Well, I talked to my granddaughter and I had lunch with my best friend. Those are well, okay, great. Do more of that. Those,
Yeah.
those are high value moments. Or thought I had a terrible day and I had a couple of high value moments. Again, it could be the cop involved in a shooting, or it could be something very exciting and your brain's on. That's important. So value doesn't mean again happy. It means this is important to you. But even those important things, say, think of a cop. If you've been, because I've spent way too much time with cops, when you've been in shooting situations, you build up that resilience. It's not pleasant. Sometimes it's called post-traumatic growth. It's not pleasant, but I'm building up this resilience. So next time I hear gunshots, it's not so weird and scary. And then I just have to execute my job. So again, just I've trained a lot with them. So first time you go to a gun range, you hear gunfire everywhere. Really, it's uncomfortable. And then, the 100th time, you're like, whatever. They're not shooting at me. It's just people practicing. So you just get used to it. So that's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. So profound. It's yeah, it's our emotions are a mystery to us a lot of times, and articulating it is not as easy, even if you want to. Even for those who are more expressive and extroverts, it's not really easy for them to pinpoint how they're feeling. So this is just I'm just thinking of all the different applications this could have, both in the workplace and at home. I think it's such a beautiful opportunity for us to get in touch with the part of us that's unknown to most.
And those around us. I'm caring for those we care about. I'm going to steal that phrase from you, Kathy. So that was beautifully said.
Oh my goodness, I love it. Love it, love it. So what's in the future for you? What are you shooting for besides your massive goal, which I love, helping serving 1 billion people? What else?
Really want to change that language. So make it easy for us to talk about emotional fitness, make it easy for people to assess their own and their loved ones' um, emotional health, and basically get every company in the world to think about how precious human beings are, and give them this goal. So again, there is a business behind this. We had to spend money to build the app, but I'm happy to have 1 billion people use the free app, and just having that conversation, I think, is much more useful
Mm,
than to talk about I'm depressed, I'm not depressed, I'm happy, I'm not happy. Great. Let's focus on all those things. Let's give you a tool so you can begin to get an insight into your emotional state and also do something about that. So we're literally every week building in more features. We're adding in more. So we pull the data from wearables. Um, Next week, we're adding in the Aura Ring. We support about a dozen different wearables: Apple Watch, Samsung Galaxy, Whoop, Garmin. We don't really care what wearable you have. And so I think the more we can get this out there and the more we can talk to people like you who understand the importance of human connection, human happiness, human longevity. By the way, people who have more emotional fitness live healthier and live longer. And much of that is due to the quality of their social relationships. So to put a cap on all this, I'm babbling now, Kathy, sorry. But the brain is so adaptive. So the term
yeah.
of art in neuroscience is plastic. It's so adaptive that even as you're middle-aged or older, you can make a commitment to be more caring, to be invest in those relationships, as I said earlier, and we actually see changes in brain activity. So this app is not just I'm going to work on building my emotional fitness for a week. It's a lifelong process, and you can actually change your brain so that you improve your immune system, you improve your cognition, you become a person who's more pleasant to be around. So almost everybody can do this. If you have, frank, psychiatric disorders, okay, you should see a psychiatrist. But for, 80% of the population, 90% of the population who just want to be happier individuals,
Mm,
the paradox is that much of our happiness comes from our interactions with others. And so the app will guide you on finding those interactions that are valuable to you. And because immersion, this valuation for social emotional experiences, is contagious, if I'm having a great time, generally you're having a great time. So I've got to really invest that emotional effort into my friends, into my team members, into my spouse, my kids. If I'm not doing that, then I'm going to suffer as a human being and I'm going to have a less healthy, less happy life, shorter life. And so, yeah, it's about other people. So sorry, introverts like me, and sorry for people who maybe at baseline are a little bit cranky. You can change. You can change that if you want to.
absolutely. I mean, I love that because that's what I was going to ask you about next. Another thing I love about this app is it brings to the awareness how it is that we're really feeling so we can stop lying to ourselves and taking steps to improving our own mental fitness and the truth that we can because our brain is has plasticity, is adaptive, is really great news. So just because we're silently suffering doesn't mean that that has to be our destiny. We can really bring to our awareness, where am I not? What is it about my day? What am I doing that is not contributing to my wellness, my mental health, my mental fitness? And how is it that I can monitoring my activities? Okay, here's a spike here. I can do more of this. To your point, I can talk to my grandmother, my friend, et cetera, et cetera. And this is good for me. So I know what nurtures me. So I love that. So it brings to the awareness what is what most people don't have access to.
And you remember, Kathy, I live in the only blue zone in the United States, is cities where people live past, or regions where people live past 100 regularly. And it's a blue zone because it's a company town. The company's run by Seventh-day Adventists. It's a
Mhm.
hospital city, who don't drink, don't smoke. They believe in exercise. So they're kind of doing all the right things. And because they're sort of an out group, they socialize a lot with their. I'm not a Seventh-day Adventist, but they happen to live in the city. But they socialize a lot with themselves because they're this kind of offshoot, religion. And they're lovely, lovely people. And the joke is that you can't kill them because they just live forever. Now, we've studied them in published scientific research, and we find that for individuals that live to 100 and over, their brains are working differently. And in particular, they have more of these high value moments. They
Mm,
are more generous to charity. They spend more time socializing. They're doing those things that are building up, as you said, their mental fitness, and that gives them this longevity advantage. So again, the sort of paradox is, even if you're the most selfish person ever
mhm,
and you want to live longer and healthier, you've got to invest in relationships. That's where the key leverage point. So research out of Oxford University recently showed that about 50% of people's self-reported happiness is due to the quality of their social relationships.
mm,
What does quality mean?
mm.
How many people in my phone list or whatever? No.
Yeah.
Quality is a neurologic measure that six captures. And so by knowing that I'm getting feedback, it's a feedback loop that the app gives you, as you said, do more of this stuff, right? And that could be, if you're retired, it could be volunteering in your kid's school. By the way, the easiest hack for people who are lonely or feeling anxious or depressed is get a dog.
Mm,
Dogs are the kind of perfect companion. They're the perfect human. They're always happy to see you. And by the way, if you have a dog, I have a dog. I moved recently. I know every one of my neighbors because I'm walking my dog twice a day at least. And you see you with a dog, and I'm a big guy. I'm 6'4". I'm a weightlifter. I'm not a normal person that you probably want to approach, but you see that dog that people come talk to me. Oh, it's so cute. Can I bet you? Of course, you can pet it. So yeah, if people are feeling disconnected, you can help your brain adapt by just getting used to nurturing that animal. Could be a cat too. We've actually published research on dogs versus cats, and we've shown that dogs are more effective at giving you these high value moments. But yeah, cats can work too.
yeah, but cats, you can't take a cat for a walk. A cat might take you for a walk.
Oh, you got to chase it. Yeah, exactly. So I think, but it could be just having that one or two good friends, and that often is enough.
Yeah.
I call these the 3 a.m. friends, right? People you can call at 3 a.m. and you're having a crisis and they'll show up. Like, just need a couple of those. So it's not really number of friends, it's really the quality of those relationships. And that, as I said earlier, means you have to invest in those relationships. Ask your friend out to lunch. I realized years ago, like someone pays for lunch, it doesn't have to even out. It doesn't matter. These are your dear friends. I'm happy to pay every time. Like, I'm so privileged to be around these people, right? So, yeah, treat someone to lunch. You got to buy a gift and show up at their house and say, "Hey, I was just thinking about you. I was at the store and I got you something."
I love
Wow,
it.
that's
I
awesome.
love
Or
it.
send a text like my crazy friend did the other day and tell me you love them. That's good too.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Love it. So what's for you personally? What's tell us about your personal journey and your insight and what has been enriched what has enriched your life personally in everything you've done and what you endeavor to do in the future.
Oh, what a question. Thank you for that. Um, I'm really trying to take my research seriously, and I'm working very hard to be a better husband, to be a better parent, to be a better team leader, to be a better mentor to my students. Um, and the sort of five pillars of happiness: diet, exercise, sleep, quality of social relationships. We talked about that. And the fifth is having a sense of purpose and acting on it. And I realize that I'm 62 at my age. My purpose is to be a dog. Like I want to be a service dog. I want to just help people as much as possible. Gives me great joy to do that. I have a book on happiness coming out in May 2025. So I'm working really hard on taking all the things I've done for the last 30 years of my professional life and turning it into something that people can use. Hopefully it's also interesting and fun, but something that people can use. It's called The Little Book of Happiness: The Scientific Approach to Living Better. And it's just a set of exercises. It's just some things you can do that helps you connect to other people, helps you develop your emotional fitness. And it's hopefully fun and interesting. And so, yeah, I think I'm on the happiness, life satisfaction bandwagon, but also taking, again, my own research seriously and applying it to myself. Um, and I hope if you ask my wife or ask my kids that I've become a better human being. Would that be nice?
I have no doubt. I have no doubt that they'll say absolutely, without a doubt. Love it. Love it. Love you. And you also have a book coming out on virtues, aren't don't you?
That's the Virtues book. Yeah, it's called The Little Book of Happiness. So I think it may have had the
So that's
name
the same.
change since we spoke. So you're so kind. But yeah, it basically goes through the 60 cardinal virtues and tells you how to get better at them. This is your world. So let's talk about a little longer, Kathy. So yeah, the virtues are basically pro-social behaviors. They're connecting to others' behaviors. They're serving other people. Awesome. How do I get better at that? How do I invest in my relationship? So for each of those 60 virtues, it gives you three. First of all, defines what it is, gives you some science on it, and just gives you exercises to get better at it. And if you use the Six app, then you can actually track your progress. And I think a lot of programs like weight loss programs and whatever, if you don't see progress, then people kind of backslide and they give up. But by seeing that I'm getting, hey, I was only getting two high value moments a day, and now I started this program, and now I'm getting four, I'm working on six, it kind of sustains that. So yeah, the virtues are super important. We both agree on that. And
Yes,
it, again, it shouldn't be a scary word for people. It's just practically, how do I be a service dog? How do I be a great partner, friend, colleague?
absolutely. Yes, virtues are our strong character points and our positive emotions. So who wouldn't want more of that?
And it attracts people to you. That's why it's so valuable in terms of building your health and happiness and longevity, is that do you want to be around a person who's unhappy and cranky and selfish, or someone who's like, Kathy, you're the best. By the way, I've been counting. Used the word love 8 times already in an hour. So I just think you're amazing to do that. So that's the person that is so fun to be around, so interesting, so full of life. And again, it's that feedback of emotional states. And so when I'm around happy people, I'm going to be happier. And that positive feedback loop really impacts not only me, but all the other people around me, which is what social creatures should do. So again, we're all going to have bad days. It's okay. I understand that. We understand that. But if you have more good days than bad days, then your life's better.
That's right. And love is contagious too.
Yes.
It's like it's all of the positive emotions are contagious. All of our emotions are contagious.
Absolutely. So one
So
of my rules I try to follow is to tell one person every day that I love them. Not a family member, that's too easy. But like
yes.
one friend, or like I'm old enough, it's not weird anymore. Like just
Oh,
tell one person that you love them. And again, this could be in the philia sense. It's not a weird romantic thing. It's like,
oh yeah.
I think you're amazing. Or I sometimes say amazing or fabulous. Like you're an amazing human being. Just have someone say that to you. It's not that hard. It's not weird. Like I really value your friendship. Like how important is that? That's easy.
Very, very, very important. It's as long as it's authentic, as long as
Oh, yeah.
it's got to come from your heart. And yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I
Oh,
love
that's
you,
13.
my friend.
I
So
love you
thank
too,
you
Kathy. Thank you so
so much.
much.
Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll have you on again because you have so much wisdom. Your personality is so brilliant. I mean, I just I looked at the
Gosh.
o'clock. I'm like, I cannot believe we've been on an hour already. So
You and I could go forever, but you're just a gem, and thank you so much for your kindness and the work you do. Extraordinary. You know, I'm a huge fan. So any time spent with you is time that is valuably spent.
ditto, ditto, my friend. Thank you again. And we'll have all the links below for all of your books. You've written many, many books, more to come, and then also, of course, the QR code for your app so that people can opt in and get the free version. And perhaps I know that certain percentage of people are going to upgrade for more data, more value added to their lives and their mental fitness. Thank
Thank you
you,
so
Paul.
much. Bye.
Bye.